Welcome to Anchored and Sent. I'm Ken, and let's talk about where God shows up in our everyday life. Hey everybody, welcome back to Anchored and Sent, and thanks for hanging out with me for a little while. So, this is the place where we do things live, right? There's no editing, we're just real people talking about real life and sharing where we see God working in our everyday lives. So my son Gavin called me earlier today when he was on his way to take care of one of his clients' ponds. And by the way, I have no idea what taking care of a pond means, right? But I could tell you that it has to do with chemicals and biology and science and about $150,000 degree at Sam Houston. But anyways, but he called me and he wanted to share something with me that happened to him today. So he started out by telling me how cruddy his Monday morning started off. And I was like, well, probably most of us feel that way today after a holiday weekend celebrating America's 250th anniversary, right? But he told me, he started off work and he noticed that one of the sprayers were clogged. In fact, he actually told me that his pee had a more powerful stream than the thing he was testing, the sprayer. Yeah, that's my son for you. But anyways, it started out rough because he told me that the only reason why it was clogged is because somebody who used it before him didn't mix the chemicals right, and so it caused clogging. And yeah, anyways. But he was just also telling me that not only was he getting the sprayer ready, so he started off his day, slow and already a pain in the neck, but he was also headed to one of the, more challenging customers, so to speak, right? But then something happened in the middle of all that. He got a call from a technician that he will be following around tomorrow, actually. And it's a final stage of a new job that he really hopes he gets. And actually, I've been praying for it. He really gets it too. I mean, it is a total life change for him and his new wife, Jenny. So I'm really hope he gets this. But anyways, the guy on the phone said, they got into a conversation, working out the details and where to meet. And he was like, "You already got the job, right?" And my son was like, "Well, not really, but you can hire me right now over the phone, right?" But what he was trying to find out is if he was hired, then they could ride in his truck, as in my son's truck, because it had AC. The one that the technician was riding in, it didn't have AC. So there's that. And so he was like, "Man, that could not have come at a perfect time." Like when his whole morning was just felt terrible. Then he gets his phone call. And he was like, "I really needed that today." And, talking to my son, hopefully I get him on here one day. The conversation always takes a turn. He was explaining that while we were talking, he was getting changing his shirt to get ready for the job, for the client that's not so easy to deal with. And apparently there were some kids playing close by in a park. So now there he is. He's awkwardly changing shirts beside his truck, hoping that nobody thinks he's some weirdo or this glowing angel, right? Because yeah, he's quite pasty like me. But anyways, he puts on his big respirator because with these pond chemicals, you got to be careful. And so he actually sent me a photo, and how I can imagine it is like he looked like somebody from Halo or Call of Duty. That's what he told me. And now honestly, I'm not sure what that means, but anyways, I don't know if that made him look cool in front of those kiddos or made him look a little scary and more creepy. I'm not sure. But here's the thing: when I hung up, I just smiled, and the fact that he was just having a bad day, and then that one phone call changed everything. It just made me think God has some funny timing sometimes, doesn't he? And then I really started laughing because, man, I will tell you, friends, my week has not been much better. In fact, have you ever had one of those weeks where it felt like just everything you did just fought back? And so that was me. And it started with my wife's new DTF printers, basically a fancy printer that prints out designs that you make, so you can make T-shirts, right? And this thing wasn't exactly cheap. And so the past couple of weeks, man, I've just been dealing with a live chat technician, and every single time we're on there for hours, and I end up having to cut it short. They have you take a picture of each step, and then you have to take a video. And then when you take this video, it's so long or too big to send by an email, so I have to figure out how that goes. And then the technician is like, just send it to my email. And I'm like, I can't. It's like another picture, another video. I mean, at one point, no joke, this might be on me, but I left a little tube loose at one point, and I did a printer check, and man, ink shot across the room. And mind you, this is my wife's craft room, and also ink does not come out of the carpet very easy. So I'm curious what's going to happen when she actually goes in there and starts working on her mums. But anyways, after all that said and done, they told me that I need a replacement part. And I'm thinking, what? I just bought this thing a couple of months ago. And so why in the world am I having to buy a part that was supposedly not covered by the warranty? But anyways, so you could tell I was really irritated, right? So, and not to mention, we were trying to get some shirts made before we go to Army camp next week. But anyways, so I decided, you know what? My wife, Cindy, has been having problems with her AC unit. The fan will get stuck, on one speed, or she hasn't been able to switch it from the feet to the top to the dash, like the air control. And so I looked up on YouTube, and it made it look easy. It was basically saying, the problem is you have a HVAC mode actuator that is out, and all you got to do is replace it. Just follow these videos. And I'm going to tell you something. This person who made this video made it look so easy. I'm telling you, he must have had hands the size of a 5-year-old. Because here I am. I'm twisted upside down. I'm under the dash doing downward dogs, upward dogs, back bends, side bends, no dogs, got stuck in bends. And both of my arms, I don't know if you can see them or not, unless you're just listening, but they are bruised, and they are just all like scratched up. And if you can see under my nails, I still have grease. I have ink from the printer. You could just see my battle wounds from this week that I've had. And so I get everything apart, just like the video told me. And I drive all the way downtown in this little sketchy neighborhood because it's the only AutoZone that has the part that I need that's in stock. And so I get it home, and come to find out, guess what? It's the wrong part. Now that's on me. I didn't check to see if it looked like the other part, but golly, I was frustrated. And then I'm trying to get the brake off the master cylinder because you had to take all this stuff out. You had to take the dash almost completely out just to get to this one actuator. And so, anyways, at the very end, there's this little clip that connects the pedal. And I didn't have patience enough to push in these little tabs and then pull this pin out. So I just yanked that sucker. And of course, it broke. So I will say right now, as we wait for the replacement pin and the part that we need, my wife's brake pedal right now is connected with a heavy-duty zip tie. And yes, I know what you are thinking. But before anybody gets these crazy thoughts in their head, something about life insurance policies or something like that, I only put the zip tie in there so that I could move the car out of the garage so that I could close it up, right? So don't don't judge me here. But at this point, I am frustrated, man. I am really just had it. And then dinner rolls around, and I'm like, you know what? It's been a doozy. Let me just park this thing outside the garage. I'll deal with it later. And so I went inside and I cooked. And guess what? I thought this was a fabulous meal. I put a lot of work into it, and nobody comes to eat. See, my daughter, she says she's already eaten, and so everybody is doing something else. And so I looked at my wife and I said, "Dear, I really think I'm on my menstrual cycle." I mean, I was all up in my feelings. I really was. I was depressed. Nobody ate. I was frustrated. And she just looked at me. And it's probably because she could see that I was not playing at that point. I was being serious. I was an emotional mess. So finally, day 2 comes on fixing the car. And I called my buddy Steven up, because I know he's someone that works on cars. I never know what shift he's on, but the thing about that is I'm the guy who does not like to ask for help. I never have. I'm the guy who will watch 12 YouTube videos, buy 3 tools I didn't even know I needed, crawl under a dashboard until my arms are all scratched up and bleeding, and then convince myself that I'm saving money. And some of you may be laughing because that's exactly, maybe you're the same way. But I always think, hey man, I got this. I'm going to figure it out. I don't need someone to help me. I mean, I don't want to look like I can't handle this, right? But I called Steven, and he came over, and we started working on the car. And you know what's so funny? When all that frustration, it didn't just like magically disappear. I mean, that actuator didn't just suddenly jump into place and all of a sudden I got all the right parts just appeared in the car, right? And it's not like that broken clip just fixed itself. I mean, heck, the zip tie was still doing zip tie things, right? But something changed in that moment. I wasn't carrying this burden by myself anymore. I mean, we were talking, we were laughing, we complained about the work we were doing, and of course he's younger and he's stronger, and so I had him doing the tough things that I couldn't do, right? But he's just the kind of guy that'll do it. We talked about the things that didn't work. We celebrated the little victories, and honestly, it was just nice having somebody there suffer with me. You know what I mean? It's like, at least I'm not suffering alone. And I know that sounds terrible, but it made me feel better. And so later that night, after everything settled down, I got to thinking, maybe this whole week really wasn't about the printer that I couldn't get to work. It wasn't about the brake clip or the AC working right. It wasn't about my scratched up arms or the frustrations. Maybe all week revealed something deeper about something going on inside me. Because my first instinct is almost always, I got this. I'm going to figure it out. I don't need anybody, right? And so this reminds me of a couple of scriptures in the Bible. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes. I'm going to read it from the Bible. It's chapter 4, verse 9 through 10. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their efforts. For if either falls, his companion can lift him up, but pity the one who falls without another to lift him up. I've read this verse several times, and I've even used some of it, where 3 strands are strong, showing that God is really important in a marriage whenever I'm doing wedding ceremonies. But this verse popped in my head differently this week. And I don't think God is just talking about getting more work done or things like that. I think he's also talking about how God designed us. I mean, life really wasn't meant to be carried alone. You see it so many times in Scripture. And I also remember where Moses is fighting against Amalek. And let me look that up. It's in Exodus, and it's in chapter 17, verse 10. I'm going to read some of this. It said, Joshua did as Moses had told him and fought against Amalek. And while Moses, Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And while Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. But whenever he put his hand down, Amalek prevailed, which was the enemy at the time, because Amalek was actually attacking Israel. And so when Moses' hands grew tired and heavy, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat down on it. And then Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until the sun went down. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his army with the sword. Moses didn't do it by himself. He had friends hold his arms up, and he had God there with them the whole time. And when his arms were held up, he was winning. And I was just thinking about that, And I wonder how many times I've asked God to fix a problem. And when I'm asking him to fix a problem, I wonder if he was already sending somebody to stand beside me. Maybe that's one of the ways God answers prayer. Sometimes he sends encouragement through a phone call from your son. Sometimes he sends a friend who's willing to crawl under a dashboard or under the hood and do the hard work for you. Or sometimes he doesn't remove the frustration, right? He just makes sure you don't carry it alone. And so looking back, I don't think Stephen just helped me work on a car. I think God reminded me that he often works through people. So here's what I'm thinking, or this is what I'm taking into this week. I'm still probably going to try fixing everything myself. I mean, old habits die hard, right? But maybe, just maybe, I'll ask for help before the brake pedal is held together with a zip tie. And friends, before we wrap up this week, I'd love to hear from you. I really would. And I would love to start sharing some of your stories, how God shows up in your life during the week. And again, maybe it's through a conversation. It's with a friend, a stranger, as you're talking to them. Or maybe it's somebody who simply showed up when you needed them. And those are the stories I really want to hear. And so I ask you to please share them. And you can email them to anchored, A-N-D, sent, anchoredandsent@gmail.com. So friends, thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you spending part of your week with me. And until next time, stay anchored in Christ and be ready for where he sends you next. Go in peace.